In this video, we're going to take you inside an urban microfarm in the heart of the city of Los Angeles. Imagine transforming a typical residential lot into a food system capable of feeding dozens of families every week. That's exactly what Degnan Microfarms is doing. They've developed a terraponic system that grows nutrient-dense food with minimal water right in a neighborhood where fresh produce can be hard to come by. Stick around until the end of this interview because in the video, we're going to explain how their system works, and I'll also share how we plan to replicate parts of this setup on our own land, breaking it down for you so you can implement it step by step and really turbocharge your food production. Hey YouTube, this is City Prepping. In this video, we're going to take you through a walkthrough of the Degnan Microfarm here in Los Angeles. We're in South Central. This is in the heart of Los Angeles, and we actually found out about what they're doing here on YouTube. So we decided to come over, check out what they're doing. We've been talking to Michael, Trey, and some of their other team while we're here, and it's incredibly fascinating. What they're doing here pretty much aligns with what we're trying to teach on the channel, how you can produce your own food with a limited amount of space in the city. They actually serve their community by producing this food, giving individuals in the community fresh food instead of food that often sits. It ripens in journey, and it's just not as nutrient dense as what they're doing here. So what I'm gonna do in this video is interview Michael, and we're gonna go through a series of questions explaining, allowing him to show their setup and what they actually grow here. My first question for you, Michael, is for those that do not know or may not know, what exactly is a microfarm, and why did you choose this particular area, this model here in Los Angeles?
Wonderful. Microfarm is a smaller version of a farm. Most of us know commercial farming, acres of land. We developed the idea of a microfarm. It's still the production of food, but on a miniature level, on a micro level with smaller footprint.
Okay, awesome. And so looking around, this is a pretty much standard residential lot, yet you're feeding, how many families are you actually feeding here?
We're feeding at this exact location about 35 families.
Wow, okay.
On a weekly supplemental diet.
And by the way, how big is this square footage here?
It's a great question. I wish I had that off the top of my head.
I mean, I'm guessing what, about 8,000 or so?
About so. I would say the lot size is about 8,000, so maybe the front footprint maybe a tad bit smaller, but you could give me around that ballpark. I'm
going to get ahead of myself because I'm going to have a lot of questions about the yard here, but most of your food is produced in the front yard, is that correct?
That is correct. Our goal as Crop Swap LA is to grow food on unused land, and most people's unused land would be their front yards compared to the backyard.
Let me ask you this, how are you able to produce so much food in such a small space?
Wonderful, yeah, so it's a lot of logistics that go into that, but this farm particular that we're at, we use this new platform called terraponics. Terraponics is a system where we're using 20% soil to 80% water, but you really want to know how we're able to grow this much food in this location, maximizing space by using vertical integration of growing, but also using the space and platforms that we have available to just grow as much as we can in a small space.
So speaking of terraponics, can you actually walk us through the terraponics system on a high level, kind of explaining it, and why it's more efficient than your typical gardens that most people associate, that's growing in the ground?
Got you. Yeah, terraponics is a small derivative of maybe of a hydroponics. Most people have heard of hydroponics, which is gardening or farming through 100% water. How terraponics works is the systems that we have, they're a flooding system from the bottom. Terra meaning a little bit of earth, and then ponics meaning water. It's about 20% soil to 80% water. Each of the tanks that we have on this property, or each of the growing places that we have in this property, have tanks, and each tank holds about anywhere from 100 gallons to about 300 gallons worth of recycled rainwater that we collect from either the house or opening the tanks and collecting them directly. How this system actually works is a flooding system. So we are fully autonomous. We have a timer system or a control panel that when those timers go off at the time that we need to water, the pumps will pump the water through the beds. The beds will flood from the bottom, come all the way to the top, wick within the soil, moisten the soil enough to get wet, and from there the timers will go off, and then it'll drain back that water, returning back to its reservoir to keep that recycled rainwater over several years based on viability.
Water is often one of the biggest limiting factors for growers. How are you capturing and reusing water here, and how do you make that system so resilient, especially as you mentioned rainwater and using this over and over? How are you able to achieve that?
Yeah, water is a limiting factor in a lot of gardenings and a lot of farming in general. When you think about farming or you're thinking about watering, it's usually a one-time usage because you're watering it, it's going to the soil, and water gravitates to the bottom as it continues to spread. How this system changes that model of how water is being used is, one, is flooding it from the bottom, which is going directly to the roots is where the water needs to go. And then secondarily, when it drains back down, it's draining back into a reservoir that's collecting it and keeping it. So with normal farming, with gardening, when you do water that one time, and even think about lawns, it's a one-time usage. So that water is going there, it's going for the plants use it, and then it's gone. Evaporation, use of it, the water is gone. But at least for this, when the water goes, any excess water that's not used is returned back to the reservoir so it can be saved to be used again.
One of the things that you emphasize with this setup is nutrient density. Why is it so important compared to just producing high yields with a lot of food? Can you explain a little more about nutrient density in this context?
Yeah, nutrient density, high yields, they kind of work hand in hand, but the nutrient density is very important to us. And the reason why is a lot of crops that we grow, maybe in America, let alone in other countries, have to get shipped, and they have a lot of transportation that goes along with that. And once that plant is harvested, that clock starts, and when that nutrient density begins to decrease. So as we harvest plants here, we're able to know by the time that we harvest it on a Sunday morning and about the time that we're done processing it, we know for sure it's about maybe an hour, 2-hour gap before the families actually receive it to their doorstep. Oh. So we can ensure to them that the plant is from root to plate within 2 to 3 hours.
How do you decide which crops to grow? Are you using a balance of cultural preferences, nutrition, or just what best grows in this climate?
Man, you gave me all the answers right there. All three of those is how do we decide what's the best. So one, you said the climate. We live in California, so the climate here varies. Limited rain here and there. We have nice tropical summers when necessary. We have not so cold winters and things like that. So we have the weather to actually grow anything. But we're also conscious about growing the certain crops at the certain seasons it should be growing. Mm-hmm. There's certain crops that, hey, California could probably grow everything, mm-hmm. but there are also some crops that you probably shouldn't grow in that season because that's not the season it actually naturally grows in. We also take a survey from our members that we serve to see what they actually want. So we're just not giving them just because we can grow it. We're actually catering to the things that they want and that they're going to use. But we also cater to making sure that we're proficient in the selective crops that we can grow and not just grow everything good. We want to grow things great.
So obviously this is more than just gardening. It's a community food system. What does that mean for the people who live around here?
Man, it means a lot to the neighborhood and the people that live here. A lot of the members in this neighborhood take pride in seeing this in their neighborhood, to wake up every morning, and for those that walk their dogs and walk their kids to walk by a farm like this to see that. People also like to see food being grown in the neighborhood because normally you don't get to see food grown, period. It's usually in a farm that's kind of far away, that's usually large enough and not a lot of visitors go there. So I think the pride of having this in your community, and it's like a breath of fresh air because then some of the members that actually receive food from us, they walk by and they can say, they're growing some peppers. I can anticipate getting some peppers in my food, or looks like that could be sweet potatoes or that could be something else. And they actually get to learn too while you're at it. You know, at the grocery store, you only see the final product. Right. But when you're here as a outside grocery store, you can see it start from a very young seedling to its final product, and they get to learn in real time of how things grow and how long it takes to grow. We also just are privileged to have food abundantly at our grocery stores, but when they actually see how long it takes, they see that it actually takes a little more time than the abundance that we normally see at our grocery stores.
Yeah, it's one of the things you kind of highlighted is your community, people seeing it. I know this area is what's called a food desert. Yes. Can you explain that term a little more? Yeah,
food desert, I mean, it has a lot of triggers to it, but I would say the best answer of food desert is lacking of nutrient-rich food grow locally, hyper-locally within your area that can sustain a community of people here. We think it's very important that this is hyper-local because if this farm is doing 30 families, just imagine if we continue to grow within this community, how many extra families it could attain to, but also how it builds a community because now everybody is supporting one farm here. It's like a small farmer's market right in your neighborhood.
That's awesome. So if somebody wanted to replicate a similar model to this in their own neighborhood, wherever it is, what advice do you have? I know talking to your staff earlier, y'all mentioned y'all have consulting services. How do y'all typically approach this when people come and say, hey, we want to do this in our neighborhood?
Yeah, so we have to educate them on all levels. Starting a business like this or even starting farming is not as easy as it looks. It does take work, so we make sure they're going to be invested in growing food and wanting to have food for their neighborhood. But it all starts with the consulting just to see what their mindset is and where we can meet each other in the middle. This right here that you see is on the most extreme level. This is utilizing all space at all angles, at every part of the land. Not everybody's land is going to be outfitted to withstand that type of framework, but also we want to see how much they can handle, because what we learned is just growing food on your land, you're going to have a surplus, and you got to be mindful, what are you going to do with your surplus after you start to grow these things? What are you going to do with your abundance after the fact, and how to move that food and distribute that food around? But to really answer just that question, where do you start at? One, you got to start at what your goals are, what your intentions are, and then from there we'll go from consultation to see what the space can handle, and then from there, development.
Looking ahead, how do you envision microfarms like this fitting into the broader food security landscape for cities?
Yeah, so I believe this will help build the infrastructure of that. A lot of our farms, like I mentioned, are great. They do great things and supply food to a lot of people. But you also got to be mindful, this actually takes a couple different things out of the equation. Shipping, that doesn't have to ship as much, hauling, movement of things is more local. So having it local is able to distribute more quicker. Also, it's due to how our system works in the CSA model, which stands for Community Support Agriculture. The food's going directly to the consumer and they're getting what they want. And they don't have to really go choose it. It's actually given to them based on what they're looking for. But I think it really helps the infrastructure of farming, because it actually brings farming back closer to the communities, and it bridges that gap that may be missing with families and communities connecting with where their food comes from.
So I got a couple more questions before we wrap this up. The next question is, what are your future plans here in this neighborhood and this just general overall, what's your expansion plans?
Wonderful. We have a goal to expand to a lot more different neighborhoods. Right now we're expanding locally. We would like to keep everything as close as possible before we overexpand and overextend ourselves. But our goal is now locally, neighbor after neighbor, finding out what their goals are and how we can support those goals. We're also expanding into schools. We want schools to reconnect so kids have an opportunity to see their food being grown.
Nice.
And actually change these concrete jungles, as they may call them, so kids can actually get in the dirt again, be able to play in the soil and actually see their food grown and have appreciation. We have a staff member that goes to those schools and educates them on how to grow their food. But we just want to have this more readily available for everyone, and everybody's community is what our main goal is. So expansion is a small snowball effect as we continue to get traction.
So quick lightning round. Can you tell us what are some of the common things that you grow here?
Common things, I give you 3 roots. We do beets, we do carrots, we do radishes. They're done right here in this section that we're standing in. When it comes to herbs, we do cilantro, we do parsley, we do green onions. Really easy turnover. We're experiencing with sage now. Sage is another good edible crop that you use for teas and different garnishes. We do bell peppers, we do spicy peppers, we do jalapeno peppers, we do eggplants. We do a lot of those fruiting veggies when we have a chance during the hot season. We do cucumbers, we do zucchinis, we do bush beans, we do tomatoes. Those are all our climbing veggies that we'll do over here to our right. Surprising enough, we have this wonderful passion fruit vine right here in the back that's producing lots of passion fruit that is very hard to come by. Really delicate, hard thing to produce and get readily available. For the lettuces, we do lettuces, as in the romaine lettuce, we do iceberg lettuce, we do bib lettuce, we do butter lettuce, different types of lettuces. We do mustards, so we do tatsoi, we do bok choy, we do green mizuna, we do arugula, we do kales such as dinosaur kale or Toscano kale, we do curly kale, we do collard greens. What else do you need? We do basil, Genovese basil, Italian basil. We do a little bit of everything, but we want to make sure that we stick to our staple crops, as those are the crops that we like to turn over the most frequently in the right season.
Well, no, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day today. I just love what y'all are doing. I saw it in the news recently, and I was like, I got to get in touch with these guys.
Wow.
Again, we're trying to do something very similar for our community to explain how you can actually produce enough food in your own house, in your own backyard, front yard, wherever, to sustain your family. So again, I really appreciate it, Michael. Thank you so much. If you want to check out what they're doing, we're going to post a link down below in the description and comment section. And again, the name is your YouTube channel, Degnan Farms?
I believe our YouTube channel may be Crop Swap LA.
Okay.
If you want to find us, it's cropswapla.org. I believe you can find there, and all our Instagram or all our social media handles will be on our website.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much. And as always, stay safe out there. Degnan Microfarm is a blueprint for high output growing in small urban spaces. Terraponics is efficient because it's a closed loop system that recycles water and feeds nutrients directly to the roots. That lets you place plants closer than traditional spacing guidelines because the root system is not competing for nutrients. That tighter spacing means more food per square foot, while the elevated and controlled beds and flood and drain cycles make the system less attractive to many common garden pests and easier to protect. In a future video, we're going to build a version of this on our own property and walk you through it step by step so you can scale it up or down on your own yard and start producing more food and less water. If you want these plans and the full breakdown, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. If you'd like to learn more about Crop Swap LA and Degnan Microfarm, we'll put a link in the description and comment section below so you can check them out. As always, stay safe out there.